How's it going, Bladesters? We're going to bring you specifications you can relate to. So if you wonder about the deployment as far as what the actual weight is, I use a lemon pull gauge for that. So stick around through the video and actually get some of the data points so you can have an educated decision on your purchases. Today we're going to be looking at one from Drop. It used to be called Massdrop, now Drop. So this is actually this one here, the Kirby Lambert. So there's a Kirby Lambert Raine. There's a purple, and there's actually the name of it is Princely Velvet. So I'm throwing as far as a little video from Instagram so you can see how that is with the sunlight. So one thing about the Massdrop side, so a lot of knives they sent over initially were about 7 knives. So I went through all the reviewers within the Apex Pass-Around group, and then we're actually doing a charitable giveaway. So if you would like to pick up one of those knives, it's going to be something that's helping out great organizations, and also you could get a free knife. So that's going to be how that's going to operate. So we're going to be doing that for 2 organizations. So St. Jude, so Nick Shabazz just did his first St. Jude, raised over $7,000 for that. So we're going to probably not going to get to that far or that high, but we're going to look at doing that, and also Wounded Warriors. So those are 2 organizations that we're going to do. So if you donate to those folks, then you email over your receipt of donation. No money will come here. Don't send me money. So that's going to be how that's going to work out for that donation for Massdrop. So 7 knives are going to be on the table. So we'll show that as far as all those knives that are available for that. But let's get into this one here. So if you're looking to pick up this knife, check out some of the specifications and let's get into it. So this knife is going to be running RWL 34, which is pretty much the same as a CPM 154. So corrosion resistance side is going to be about 36th percentile, and then hardness about 58th, and then edge retention about 56th percentile. And again, that's going to be in the ideal situation. So if there's something that happened within the grind, or if there's something that happened within the heat treat, you might get a little bit different results than that. But overall, in ideal situations, that's where you're going to end up for this. So comparison-wise, for this one here, you're going to look at some of the sizing for it, as far as like a Rat 2, which is kind of a standard version. You have the full-size Griptilian. Then you're going to have one that's going to be about the same price point. So that's going to be now for this one, as far as the Medford. That's the Smooth Criminal. And then you have, this one is the Mini Griptilian, and then that's going to be having some custom scales from Death of All Things. So that's going to be about the same price pointing as well for those type of knives. So if you're going to be looking at that price range, so for this one it goes for about $249. So it's currently on pre-order. So this is actually a production sample. So thank you to Drop for providing it to the Pass-Around group. So that's going to be something that's really cool to really check out. A knife that's not really available to folks, but this is a really cool one to check out as well. So this is going to be one where we'll look at the hand sizing chart for it, for the adult women's hand first, and then we'll look at the adult male's hand. So this is going to be about a 5.8 ounces. So it's going to be a little bit on the heavier side, but it's a fairly good sized knife as well. So that's where you're going to have something where you're going to have to figure out as far as, is this going to be the right size for you? You might want to have a smaller knife, you might want to have this size knife. So that's going to be a lot of preferences as far as that goes. So again, $249. It has a few different color options for it as well. So this doesn't really give it justice. So hopefully the video at the front gave you a little bit more idea as far as how this is going to perform in sunlight, because this carbon fiber scale really does show off very well for the knife. And then for the pull gauge side, we'll see how, as far as what this is. So about 2 to 3 pounds is normally a pretty good range for some of the pulls, as far as the weight, as far as how much it would actually take to actually deploy a knife. So we'll see as far as where this one sits for this knife here. So I think this is going to be a little bit heavier than most knives. So about 3 pounds 9 ounces for this one here. So that's going to be on a little bit heavier side for it. Still not horrible. The jimping's not bad on it, where it's going to be really digging into too much for that. It is just a little bit heavier than kind of, at least my preference on it is about 2 to 3 pounds to actually have a pull weight for it to actually do the deployment. So you hear for as far as either a light or heavy detent, that's going to be on the little heavier side. as far as that goes. So this one, as far as opening procedures, it does have a light switch or push button. So that's going to be the only two deployment methods. So push button is going to be a straight through. So you're going to be able to deploy it that way, or the light switch is going to be down. And you could pop it open if you do want to actually have it a little bit more discreet, a little bit more traditional way to open a knife for the one there. But about 3.5 inches saber grind or saber blade for that. And then there's going to be a hollow grind as far as that secondary edge. So as far as the measurement side, so that's some of the things that we're getting to specifications wise for the knife too. So this one, as far as the belly side, is going to be about 20 thousandths behind the edge here, about 5 sheets of paper. And then up front, as far as the tip goes, it's going to thicken up a little bit as far as 6 sheets of paper and about 26 thousandths behind the edges. This is what I got for this knife. So the model that you get, if you do get one, is going to be a little bit different than that for as that measurement. So this stock is about 4 millimeters. So this is a fairly thick blade stock, and it's going to be basically taking it from that 4 millimeters all the way down to that secondary grind angle. So 14 degrees. So that's actually one of the highlights of this knife, is that Reate makes a great detent ramp. So if you haven't experienced as far as a detent ramp, this one has a degree of 14 degrees. So basically from the open position to actually being on the blade, or the detent ball being on the blade itself, is about 14 degrees as far as open to on the blade. And there is a ramp. So instead of having it be just right onto the full thickness of the blade, it does have a ramp that actually will take it up. So you're not really feeling it. So as you're actually opening and closing the knife, you're going to be having it basically just almost drop right onto the blade itself. So you're not going to have a kind of that secondary notchy feel to it. You're going to have that basically that release, and then it's going to be going right onto that blade. So that is one thing. They did really, really well on it. And that's kind of a standout thing that I saw within the knife. So this one only has one way to carry it, which is going to be a right hand tip up. And so there's no other deployment or no other carry method for it. So that's going to be this way here. You can see how that looks in your pocket as far as how that's going to carry as well. This one, as far as the actual sharpness side, so you can actually see also the grind as far as what it looks like. But this is going to be one that came in at 285 for the actual sharpness, which is basically a new high-end cutlery for that. And then that was about, in measurement side, so it's going to be about 15 degrees per side as far as that sharpness goes for this one. So it's one that actually, that's one thing that you're going to have something that's a little bit of a difficult part of it. So if you're actually going to be cutting for things, so when you're actually doing a cut, since it's so thick, you're going to be actually having a lot more basically a material that's going to want to get out of the way, because it's going from that initial edge to be actually quite a bit thicker. So that's where you are going to get, if you're going to be cutting anything thicker than like regular paper. So even on cardboard, as I was showing you there, it does have a little bit more resistance for it. You're just trying to move that material out of the way from basically the cutting angle to the actual thickness of the handle or the blade itself, as far as 4 millimeters. So that's something that is kind of a downside to it. It is a beefy blade. It's going to be really substantial as far as what you have. But if you're going to be cutting that media, that's where it's going to be possibly a little bit less enjoyable than something that's going to be a little bit thinner blade stock, or maybe a full flat, or something that's going to be at least a higher grind angle. So if it's going to be hollow grind, maybe if it was a higher hollow grind, you'd actually have a little bit more enjoyment overall as far as how the blade is. So thank you to folks for making it this far. And so if you do like the content itself, so most of the videos, if you don't know kind of the behind the scenes of things, you do have basically carrying the knife, using the knife a little bit as far as that goes. It is a pass-around knife, so it goes on to the next person, so you can't use it the same way you would normally. But as far as the video side and editing and everything else, it's about 3 hours of work that goes into basically about 10-minute or so video that you guys are watching. So do appreciate folks that actually stick around to the end of the video to actually see what's going on with it. Thank you to the folks that are subscribing to the channel. And then do let me know in the comments down below as far as what you think too. As far as myself, as far as a buy, borrow, or avoid for this knife, I would recommend to buy it. It is one that really stands out as far as one of the things that I like within the knife, as far as the way that they were able to do it. That D10 ramp is one thing that makes it really enjoyable. And then I was finding that I was just picking it up as far as the ones that I have around to actually take with me. This is one that I picked up to actually take around on a normal day-to-day for the time that I did have with the knife. So I do like the way they did it. So the Kirby Lambert Raine is one that is from Reate as far as the production. So they do have a few others that are coming out that they're producing. So check those out as well. Check out drop.com. Used to be Massdrop. And also, for going back to the initial part, so if you do want to do the charitable giveaway as far as the donations for that, stay tuned for that side. It's not going to be anything that's going to be any type of subscriber base. So you don't need to be subscribed to the channel to actually be a part of that. It's basically just giving to that good organization as far as the Wounded Warriors or St. Jude. And then that's going to be where you're going to be entering for that. So we'll get the details as far as that goes as we get a little bit closer to it. But there's going to be 7 knives that are going to be given away. And so that's going to be something that will have a pretty good amount and hopefully a good chance of it as far as getting a knife for free for just giving to those folks. So if you give it to them normally, just use that same receipt and then we'll get it taken care of for that. But we're going to be having to do hopefully a lot of good things with that as far as those 2 organizations. So thank you very much. Let me know in the comments down below as far as what you think, and thank you very much for your time.